What am I laughing at? I'm not sure what I'm laughing at. Do you like supervillains, superheroes, super monsters, creatures of all sorts? Do you like chaos? Do you like destruction and mayhem? Well, maybe this book is just for you. I've just finished reading Villain by Michael Grant. Now, I bought this book in a second-hand store. It cost me $2 or $3. I grabbed a whole bunch of them, and actually I forgot all about it. And when I finished my last book, a book by Minette Walters, I started searching my bookshelf again and found a stack of these little books that I hadn't read. And initially when I looked at it, I thought it must have been one of the kids' books, because it's sort of a young adult sort of book. But they assured me it wasn't theirs, and I decided it was one that I bought in my rummaging around a second-hand store. Anyway, it's a pretty cool book, actually. I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but I didn't realise until I was a little way into it that it was part of a series. I knew nothing about Michael Grant. I know nothing about the series of these books, although the back does sort of mention a bit of a series. So Michael Grant, he was born back in 1954, so he's in his 70s now. He's written over 160 books, and many of them he wrote with his wife, Catherine. He likes the science fiction, fantasy type books. He's done a few different series, and one of the series is the Gone series. Michael Grant said he wrote the Gone series to basically creep people out. Why not? It is a bit creepy, and I think he's achieved that. So you've got the Gone series, which is series 1. Villain is a part of series 2, which is 3 books. Although you can read Villain on its own, and it made sense to me from the start, it wasn't that hard to understand the story, anything like that. But definitely by the end of it, you could see it was going to lead into another book, which obviously is the last one, called Hero. This one's paperback. It's only 317 pages long. It's quite the page turner, and I must admit, it's probably one of the most graphic books that I've read. Well, it depends how good your imagination is, I guess, but in my mind, it was quite horrific. The bad person in the book, or one of the bad people, but it revolves around this character called Dylan Poe, and he's got the ability to control people with his voice. He can just command them to do anything. Even though they know it's wrong and they don't want to be doing what they're doing, they just can't help themselves. So sometimes they're doing nasty things to someone else while at the same time apologising for what they're doing. Now, Dylan Poe, aka the Charmer, I didn't know what was going to happen with him at the start. I thought he was going to do something good, to be honest. I didn't know he was going to be a villain, so spoiler alert, of course. As the book goes on, you just really want to punch this guy. You really want to do this guy harm. I suppose there's no spoiler there, but he does get his comeuppance in the end. So the book gets a bit of emotion going in you. You feel anguish, you feel tormented, you feel frustrated, you feel angry. All those things happen in this book, and I've said that before, that I like a book that makes me feel all those things from the characters and the characters' actions. So there's some pretty good and interesting characters in this book. The military's all involved, of course, so if you have read the other books in this series, you'll want to read this one for sure. Everybody likes a series like this. It's just the way it goes. And to be honest, I might have to go back and find the original books, the whole Gone series, and go back and read them. But just reading Villain on its own, you can already get a good idea of what's happened. So you don't have to have read everything else, but it's probably nice to have that whole backstory. But some of the backstory is sort of talked about in this book, to some degree anyway. So the characters are pretty good and interesting in this book, and Michael Grant does an excellent job of creating a wonderful imagery of the creatures that he describes, and the way they manipulate their surroundings and themselves to achieve their goals. So for the majority of the book, the action takes place in Las Vegas. A huge showdown occurs between the military and civilians and the supervillains and superheroes. And that's what you've got to determine in this book. And in your own mind, you might have different opinions of who's the villain and who's the hero and who are just straight out monsters. I think we're all going to come to the same conclusions though. based on the actions of certain people. But sometimes those actions are justified by the person that's carrying them out. So it all depends which point of view you're coming from, isn't it? In the book, there's also a scene occurring in a submarine. Obviously, this has had some reference in the prior books, but you don't necessarily need that backstory for the submarine because it sort of tells a little bit. And this leads somewhere. The end is not that good for this submarine, and it obviously leads to something that's going to be pretty heavy in the last book. And one of the characters in the book, who ends up getting nicknamed Rainbow, she's a 4D person. She's a person that can morph into a fourth dimension. So her ability is she's able to walk through walls and pass through objects and have objects pass through her. And the reason she can do that is because she's not actually in our dimension anymore, she's in a fourth dimension. And talking about the fourth dimension, all these people afflicted with this ability to morph into different sorts of creatures, whether they be hero, villain or monster, they seem to talk about this entity called the Dark Watchers. I think that's going to come to a climax in the final book, Hero. And I believe that Rainbow is going to be that hero. And I don't know about all these people that can morph into these different super creatures, whether they've got that ability through digesting or being exposed to this rock. I don't know what happened in the prior books, but in this book people seem to have got that ability by consuming this rock substance, and so the name Rockborn is applied to some of these super creatures, of which Rainbow is one. This rock, apparently it might have been sent from aliens or whatever, these Dark Watchers, and they're watching the people evolve after having consumed this rock. And it's like they're in this fourth dimension. So the super creatures can't see them, but they're sort of aware of their presence. The analogy of the 2D to 3D sort of makes sense. Like 3D people can see the 2Ds, but the 2Ds can't see the third dimension. And so Rainbow, because she exposes herself to the fourth dimension, that might be where these Dark Watchers are, because she says that she's not aware of them. But the other super creatures all seem to know that they're there. They're somewhere. Not necessarily in their mind, but they're somewhere. And one of the characters, Malik, he's really testing whether they can see him or hear him or all that sort of stuff. And then he starts to realise that Rainbow has got this ability to be in the fourth dimension. I think there's going to be a climax in the next book where Malik and Rainbow are going to use her power to be able to take down these Dark Watchers, who seem to be just basically sitting back and watching the mayhem that their rock or dust or whatever that they may have sent is causing. So they're like an audience and they're just loving the show. And of course Malik doesn't like that. Well, none of the superheroes really like it. They don't like the Dark Watchers being present in their being somehow. So anyway, I've probably gone a little bit too long about that aspect of it, but the book is really good. It's really easy to read. It's full of amazing visuals, imagery. If you like those sort of superhero villain stuff, then you're going to like it too, I think. So I think I might go back and start reading the Gone series at some stage. I give this book about an 8 out of 10. It was captivating, it was well written, Michael Grant does a pretty good job. So I recommend this book if you like that sort of fantasy, science fiction sort of stuff. Pick up Villain, maybe after you've read the others so it can flow, but it can certainly be a standalone book. So thanks for watching my review on Villain. I've just started this book. It's a little bit different to what I normally read. I have read some self-improvement books in the past, not too many, but some. And this one was suggested to me by my wife, which might say a few things. But anyway, when she gave it to me, I noticed that she had marked a few of the pages. Some of the important bits and bits you want to remember. And I basically said, yeah, so the whole book really, right? I like the way Jefferson Fisher started this book, an intro about himself and how he's going to talk about the book and take us through some practical exercises, stuff like that. So I haven't got into the practical side of things yet, so I've just started it. See how we go. I'll do a book review on that one when I'm done. So thanks for joining me on another Okidoke book review. Hope you've enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Sometimes starting is the hardest part. I'm just laughing. I'm not sure why I'm laughing. Anyway. Better than crying, isn't it? Let's get this show underway. What am I laughing at? I'm not sure what I'm laughing at. There's nothing funny. I must be crazy. Must be going insane. Or is it Las Vegas? Las Vegas? I think you pronounce it Las Vegas. Sorry, Americans. Ultimatum? No, that's not the word. Dan, you're not doing a good job here. Yep, thank you.